Everyone, my name is Dawn of Dawn by Nature. I live and work on a small island called Barbados. We're located in the Caribbean, and today I'm going to be making a soap called sweetbread soap. In Barbados, sweetbread is actually a delicacy, a baked good made with coconut and sugar and spices and all sorts of very nice things. So I'm trying to make a soap that would represent this delicacy. The idea just came to me and I decided to just give it a try. So we'll see what happens. First, we're going to add the lye water to the oils. And when we get to a nice thin trace, I'm going to just cover and we're going to start the cook from there. That's great. I forgot to mention that in the crock pot we have today coconut oil, olive oil, palm oil, castor oil, and rice bran oil. So we're going to cover and we're going to let it cook. Let's see what's happening here. As you can see, the soap batter is starting to cook. It's getting hotter, it's expanding. You can see the difference between the texture on the top and the texture that is coming up. This is what we call the applesauce stage in hot process soap making, and everything seems to be proceeding nicely. I won't try to do too much with it, but just be on hand to keep a knife just to make sure it doesn't go over the top of the cooker. But this is a fairly small batch and I don't anticipate that it should get that far, but with soap making you never know, so just be here to stir it down in case it gets a bit too hot and starts to expand to go over the top. I'll just put back the cover on at this stage. It seems to be folding over on itself, so it seems we're okay. I wanted to just bring you back to show you where we're at right now. The soap batter is much calmer, as you can see. There's a bit of separation here, but that is nothing to worry about at all. Once we give that a stir, it's going to come together again. And we're just going to give that a little stir, put the cover back on, and leave it to itself for another few minutes to continue to cook. I'll bring you back once something else starts to happen. Soap is cooking. Let me just take the opportunity to show you some of the other ingredients that will be going into this particular soap. We have a fragrance oil blend with vanilla, coconut, and oatmeal. We have some coconut milk. We have some shaved soap. This is going to represent our coconut and sugar, which goes down the middle of the sweetbread. If you know the Barbadian sweetbread, coconut bread, sweetbread, we use the word interchangeably. It is a dough more than a cake batter, and In the middle, we have a mixture of shredded coconut with brown sugar and spices that we run straight through the middle of the sweetbread. And also, I'm going to be putting in some citrus peel. This is actually soap as well. We do flavor our coconut bread sometimes with citrus peel. And in this container, we have some oatmeal, nutmeg, cinnamon, and spice. The oatmeal is going to represent our shredded coconut, and the spices are going to give it a nice fragrance, and also it's going to help make the color a little tan, not quite white, a little tan. So that's what we're hoping for. So once the soap is cooked and starts to come down a bit in temperature, we're going to add the coconut milk, and then we're going to add the citrus peel. We're going to add the oatmeal and spices. We're going to put half the batter in the mold, put the shredded coconut and brown sugar down the middle, and then put the other half of the soap on top, and we're going to try to texture the top. Hot processed soap usually has a very rustic top, as you're going to see. I don't know how much of a texture I'm going to be able to add, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to bring you back to see where we're at. As you can see, the soap is cooking nicely. We have some bubbles. It's not as volatile and not as active as it was previously, but it still has a little life in it. It means probably that there is still lye in there to be cooked. Just going to give it a little stir. The texture is changing, becoming a bit thicker, not as runny as it was before. We get into the mashed potato stage. So we're just going to give it a stir, cover, and let it continue to cook. I will bring you back a little later and we'll see what will be happening at the next stage. Again, everything seems mostly quiet. The soap is still very hot. So before we add our other ingredients, we're just going to give it a chance to cool a bit. And then we're going to put those in and finish up. Here we have the soap at the Vaseline stage. I don't know if you can see the shiny look to the soap. We call that the Vaseline stage, and that's how we know that the soap is finished. So we're just going to leave it to cool a bit before we come back and add all those other wonderful ingredients that we have to put into this sweet red soap. We're back again. Our temperature has come down nicely to below 100 degrees Celsius. I didn't want to add the coconut milk above 100 degrees Celsius so that it would not burn. We're going to add the coconut milk first and then continue on nicely with the other additives. While we stir this in, I will just give you a little background to how we made our sweetbread here in Barbados. Well, the recipe that I use, it calls for shredded coconut, dry coconut that is. We mix the coconut with brown sugar and spices. We retain some of the coconut to put into the middle of the sweetbread when we're baking it. The rest of the coconut we add flour and baking powder. Then we add the egg and butter and coconut milk. And then we bring it to a nice stiff dough. We roll it out into balls. Put some of the nice coconut and sugar mixture down the middle. We get it into our baking pans and we bake it. It smells wonderful while it's baking because of all the spices and the coconut, and it tastes wonderful as well. We're moving on now to our oatmeal and spices. The oatmeal is going to give the soap a nice texture, as well as the spices would add texture as well, but also they would add a nice color and fragrance to the soap. We are going to fragrance this soap, but I was trying to stick as close as possible to the recipe that I would normally use to make the actual baked goods, for authenticity, also for interest. You get that in there nicely. Then we're going to add our citrus peel, quote unquote, which is actually little bits of soap that I would have chopped up. Some people like citrus peel in their sweetbread. I don't usually care for it, but it adds a nice flavor. If I do have a sweetbread that has it in, I usually pick them out. Here's where now I'm going to add the fragrance oil blend. This should add a lovely smell to our soap. It does smell yummy and lovely. Soap is coming along nicely. I'm going to put half of it in the mold and then sprinkle the quote-unquote coconut and spice mixture, which is this, down the center, and then top up with the rest of the soap mixture. As I have mentioned before, hot process soap doesn't give the sort of nice, workable, moist soap mixture that a cold process soap would. It's usually very sticky, so it's difficult sometimes to get all those nice wonderful designs that the makers have in their hot process, get that translated into their cold process to change that into our hot process. But the reason why, it's going to tap it down, get rid of any air bubbles, sprinkle on our, this is actually chocolate soap from a previous batch, just retain some of it. We won't add all here. The reason why I tend to prefer hot process soap over cold process is because there's no 4 to 6 week wait before I can actually try out my lovely creations. Hot process soap, you just need to leave it for a bit so that it dries some. It's not so sticky. That way it lasts longer in the shower, but technically this soap that we have here can be used right away. excited by this. I don't know, I was just thinking about what other soap I can make that I haven't shown you before. And I believe over the holidays I would have made some sweetbread, and it was gone in a flash. And I said, you know, why not try making a sweetbread soap and see how that goes? So here it is. It is smelling really wonderful. That coconut fragrance, the oatmeal fragrance oil, and also a bit of vanilla. It smells like a true authentic baked good. And just gonna tap it again. The nutmeg and cinnamon lends a wonderful color to it. Just sprinkling out a bit of nutmeg that I have here left over and sprinkle it on the top. I won't try to do anything more with the top because, as I mentioned before, the hot process soap gives usually a fairly rustic top, and to be honest, that looks just like how the sweetbread would look as well. So we'll just leave it there. We'll just leave this to harden, and then we'll bring you back later for the cut. Hi everyone, we're back with our sweetbread soap, and I must tell you, this smells so lovely. I'm resisting the temptation to just, you know, taking a big slice and taking a big bite out of it. We're going to cut now and show you the inside. I'm so excited to see how this all turns out. Look, we have here our mixed peel of coconut running through the center. Are you a person who likes the end, or do you like the middle? We're going to cut another piece now and show you. If you look closely, you can see the bits of nutmeg and cinnamon and all the spices, and our chocolate soap running through that we're pretending that is our coconut with spices and brown sugar, the middle. Oh my goodness, I wish you could smell it. Oh, I'm not kidding, it is really, really gorgeous. We're going to continue cutting our bar, and then we're going to let these dry for a few days, and then I'm going to have the pleasure of taking mine into the shower and doing some testing.